Hey, my name is Grant Draper, PDGA number 68929, and this is what I'm carrying in my bag. Starting off with my putters, I have 7 putters in the bag. We'll go ahead and start off with my driving putters. This is my 400 series PA1. I use this for a lot of shots off the tee, about 300 feet and in, and it's a really good upshot disc. And I usually mainly use it for backhands, but every once in a while I use it for sidearms. This is the new 400 series A1. I got this from Brady Hanna, and this thing is awesome. It's super beefy. I can trust it in any wind. It can pretty much take on any headwind, and it's a staple in my bag, great for upshots. On to my other driving putters. This is my SE PA2. It's pretty beat in. I've had it for about a year now, and it's pretty straight. It started off pretty stable, but now it's straight to overstable. I can pretty much have it stay on any line I want it to, whether it's a hyzer line or a flat line, or I can do it for turnover shots. I can use it for sidearms. Really good point and shoot disc. And I really use it when I don't need a lot of skip. I kind of want to just sit down. I'll use the SE PA2. Up next is a newer putter in my bag. Usually I have a PA1, but I'm waiting to get another PA1 in the bag. This is my 300 series PA2. It's a little less stable than the PA1, but it's still pretty stable. Really good for upshots and short drives off the tee that I need to stay on the hyzer line. I'll use the 300 series PA2. Okay, on to my putting putters. This is my 300 series PA3. I usually only use this in colder conditions, when it's a little bit colder outside. It stiffens up nice and I can get a better grip than I can with my 350G. So I use this for outside the circle putts or even short approach shots. So 300 series PA3. Up next, this is my 350G PA3, and I use this strictly for outside the circle putts. Just because it's a little bit more beat in, I can count on it to glide a little bit longer and get to the basket before it finishes on the hyzer line. And the last of my putters, this is my money putter. This is my 350G PA3. I actually got this for donating to St. Jude's. It has that unique kind of team stamp on it. I really love this putter. It feels really nice in the hands. It's nice and grippy, and I can really get a good grip on it, and it grabs the chains really nicely. So 350G PA3. Up next, we got my mid-ranges. I carry 4 mid-ranges in the bag. I like to keep all my discs color blocked. That way it's a little bit easier to find, and it looks pretty nice. So, okay, we'll start off with the least stable. I have my 350G M3. And this thing is pretty beat in. I can basically use it for straight shots, wooded shots. I can have it hold a turnover line pretty nice, and it doesn't really come back too hard or turn over too much. It's really nice for that, and it just sits where it hits. So I'll use it for shots like that. Up next is my 750 M4, and this thing is money. This thing will hold literally any line I put it on. I can use it for hyzer flip, dead straight shots, for wooded shots, or I'll use it in tailwinds to hold a straight line, or I can do it for turnover shots as well. Use it for sidearms. I can use it for anything. It's a really useful disc, and I suggest you get the 750 series M4. Up next, out of my mid-ranges, is my 750 M3, and this is a newer disc in my bag, but I really love it. It's really nice for hyzer flips. It'll hold a straight line for a little bit, and then it'll have a soft hyzer finish. Really good for shots that go left to right at the very end for left-hand backhand. And I'll also use it a lot for sidearms if I just wanted to hyzer flip and go dead straight. Last but not least, out of my mid-ranges is my Proto M32. An M32 is basically M3 that ended up being a little bit more stable, so they turned it into the M2. So this is my M32. And this thing is pretty overstable. This is really the money run of the M32s. This thing, being gray, has a lot of glide to it, and it's pretty overstable still. It's a newer disc in my bag. It really holds the hyzer line really nice, and gets a little bit of skip at the end if I need it. So this is a really useful disc to have in my bag, and it stands up to a headwind pretty nice. So up next in my bag, we have my Fairway drivers. I only carry 2 Fairway drivers because I throw a lot of sidearms, being a left-hand backhand. So I usually use a lot of drivers. That's what most of my bag contains. So out of the fairways, first I have the F2. This thing is really good for hyzer flip shots that I need to go straight for a long ways and then have a soft hyzer finish. It's really good for that. It's a really good disc. I really suggest you get a 400 series F2. Up next out of my fairways is my SE 400 series F3. This is the Paul Ulibarri special edition disc, and this thing's a little bit more understable than my F2. It's a really straight disc. I really like it for tunnel shots, whether it be sidearm or backhand. I can hyzer flip it, put on a little bit of hyzer, and then it'll just go dead straight and not really have much of a hyzer finish. So I really enjoy it for that, and I can also use it for turnover shots that I need to just kind of sit down and not really have much fade at the end. All right, here come the drivers. Got a lot of drivers in the bag, as you can see. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start off with the H series, the hybrid drivers. I carry 3 H series discs in my bag. We'll go ahead and start off with the most overstable. This is my St. Jude's 750 H1. This thing is really overstable still. It's really a utility disc. I'll use it for up shots that I need keep on a hyzer line, spike hyzers, you know, short sidearms that I can put on a little bit of ante, and it'll come back hard and skip hard. So really nice utility disc. If you throw thumbers or tomahawks, I really suggest you get the 750 H1. Up next, this is my money. I use this so much, probably one of my most used discs in my bag. This is the 750 H2. This is just a little bit less stable, still pretty beefy compared to the H1. It'll go a little bit straighter before it dumps, whereas the H1, you just pump it out there and it dumps on you. This thing, I can put on some ante and it'll come back nice and have a little bit of skip at the end. And I use this disc a lot for shots about 330 and in, so 750 H2. Up next is my 400G H3. This thing is super nice. I really love the 400G plastic. It's really grippy and doesn't really get too much skip. This disc, I put on a tad bit of hyzer. It'll flip the flat, hold a nice straight line, and then have a hyzer finish, but not get too much skip. Whereas the 750 gets a lot of skip, being a harder plastic. This kind of sticks a little bit more, doesn't skip as far. So this is a really handy disc. I use this for sidearms and backhands. Now to the D series discs. Starting with the D4s, I got this red first run D4. This thing is pretty understable, pretty true to a D4 flight. I can hyzer flip this and it will turn left for a long time, get a lot of distance before it comes back right with a soft hyzer finish at the end. Really useful disc. I love this thing. This is really a big bomber for big tailwinds. I can get this thing out anywhere from 450 to about 500 on a good day. So really useful disc. Up next out of my D4s is this first run D4, and this particular run of D4 is pretty overstable. It's beat in pretty nice now. I can put this on a little bit of hyzer. It'll flip the flat, get a little bit of turn on it, and then I'll have a nice hyzer finish at the end. Really dependable disc. I can even use this in a headwind up to 15 miles per hour, and it's not gonna turn over on me. So really good disc. I really suggest if you can get your hands on one of these, get a first run D4. Okay, up next are my D3s. Okay, this D3 is super understable. This is my roller disc. This thing is really understable. I'll use this in elevation if I have a tailwind and I'm going downhill or even uphill. I'll use this for either a roller or just long bombs with elevation. I've rolled this thing about 550, close to 600 feet. This thing just, you can put it down on a line and it'll just go straight and for a long ways, and then it'll finally go left for me, being left-hand backhand. Parked a lot of long holes with this disc and it's really nice. So yeah, that is my 400G D3, and it weighs in at 166 grams. So it's pretty light. Up next out of my D3s is an old run Proto D3. This thing is my money D3. I really love this disc. It really feels nice in the hands. I love the grip it has, the feeling of the plastic. And this thing is understable. I can hyzer flip it, get a lot of turn on it, really good for long distance shots, get a lot of turn, and it'll have a nice hyzer finish. This is probably one of my favorite discs in my bag. I can also get it to hold a turnover, and it'll hold a turnover for a long amount of time and maybe come out with a little bit of hyzer finish. Most of the time I'll just hold the line and kind of sit where it hits. So really good disc. On to my D2s. I carry a lot of first run and proto D2s just because I really like the way they fly, and that's the way I prefer it. This is my tunnel shot. This thing is super straight. Really great for long tunnel shots. Put on a little bit of hyzer, it'll go dead straight, and maybe even get a little bit of turn out of it. This is my most least stable D2. Really good disc, one of my favorite discs. I really love straight discs. I like watching discs just be true to flight and fly straight, and this is definitely that disc. So first run D2. Up next on my D2s is my gray Proto Money Run D2. This one is dyed. This thing is awesome. It's a little bit more understable, or a little bit more stable than my red first run D2, but this thing has a lot of glide. It's a little bit more domey than my first run D2. It has a little bit more dome, a little bit more profile to it. This thing is my big bomber. Feels really nice in the hands. Probably one of my favorite discs to just hold on to and just grip. It feels really nice. This thing, I can throw in a little bit of hyzer. It's gonna go dead straight for a while, maybe get a little bit of turn on it, and then have a nice hyzer finish. Really dependable disc. I can use it in a headwind, tailwind, whatever. One of my go-tos. So. Last but not least out of my D2s is my gray Proto D2. This one's newer than the tie-dye D2. This one is more overstable, a little bit straighter. I can put a little bit of hyzer on it and just crush it out there, and it's not really gonna get too much action and turnover or hyzer off too early. Has a lot of glide to it before it gets a soft hyzer finish, and really great disc. So. On to my D1s. Starting off with the least stable, this is my 400 series D1. I've had this thing for almost 2 years now. It's pretty beat in, but it's still pretty overstable. It has a lot of disc integrity. So I'll use this in a headwind up to 12, maybe 15 miles per hour. And it flies true to a D1, overstable. put on some hyzer, just a tad bit of hyzer. It'll hold that line for a long time, get a lot of glide, and it'll have a nice hyzer finish. And yeah, so that's my 400 series D1. On to my most overstable D1. This thing is amazing, especially for Oklahoma headwinds. If you've ever played in Oklahoma, you know it gets super windy. So I know I can trust this disc in pretty much any headwind, and it's not gonna get too much action. Still really overstable. I really mainly use this for sidearms. I can put on some Annie, throw it, and then it'll pan out and then have a nice, dependable hyzer finish at the end. So mainly use it for sidearms, but I will use it for occasional backhand hyzer. So yeah, that is my purple 400G D1. Last but not least, out of my D1s, this is my OG D1. It's a new disc in my bag. I actually got it for my birthday. Really in love with this disc already. It's a OG D1 bleeder, so it kind of bleeds onto my other discs and onto my hands. But I still like it. It's a double team stamp, pretty cool. This thing is super beefy still. I've only thrown it a handful of times. I've only had it like 2 weeks. But it's really overstable. I can trust it into any headwind, and I know it's not going to turn over. Really dependable disc, and gets a lot of skip to it. So, great disc. Last but not least, out of my drivers, this is one of my ace discs. Try not to really carry my ace discs in my bag, but I really like this one so much so that I'm not going to take it out of my bag. This is my Bowling Green D3, but I like to call it my D3X1 because it's super beefy, super overstable. If you guys have ever seen Alex Geisinger throw, he throws these because they're stupid overstable. And yeah, so I've had this for about a year now. I really use this for up shots that I need to skip left, or throwing a sidearm, or right if I'm throwing a backhand, or if it's like a headwind up to 30 miles per hour and it's super, strong headwind, I'll throw this. Really great disc, has a really strong hyzer finish to it. You can just pump it out there. It'll get a little bit of glide to it, but then it just dumps on you, almost like a barrel roll. So super overstable disc, but I still love it. Last but not least in my bag, my Puddle Top X1. This has the 2014 Prodigy stamp on it, protoplastic. This thing is stupid overstable. It's really a utility disc. I don't really throw many thumbers or tomahawks because it tears up my shoulder, but I will use this for short up shots that I need just to spike, and just really use it for placement shots, or if I need a skip, out of the brush, if I'm in some trouble, I can really depend on this disc to get me out of trouble. So if you don't have an X1 in the bag, I really suggest you get one. I think everybody needs one. So that is my Protoplastic 750 X1.
When our two hearts will combine, the power is yours, the power is mine. When lovers part, the sky must cry. Write your love letters to my pen from try. If you stay, good love and make me wanna fly. If you go, rise and fall, dip and die. You who have lived so I shine so bright. I love you.
Yeah, that's it. Seeing what's all in my bag. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and throw Prodigy. Thank you.